2, 1. We can start.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to our first webinar about remote services and especially about our remote visual instant support tool, AeriLink. My name is Alina Eisenburger. I am the moderator for today, so I have the pleasure to guide you through this session. Some organizational aspects first. You may have noticed that you are muted. This is a default setting, so if you want to ask any questions, please use the Q&A functionality within your screen. We will have a dedicated Q&A session after all keynote speakers have finished. So that's why it is also important that when you type in a question, that you please add the name of the speaker so we can allocate correctly in the end. Also, please make sure to describe your question as concrete as possible so we can make sure it is being answered in the very best way. Our colleague from France is not being able to join the Q&A, but you have the possibility to ask your question via an email that we will provide to you. That's not a problem. When you type in a question, you have the choice between either do it anonymously or you can also type in your name. Either way, please be informed that this webinar is going to be recorded. Okay, so we have brought an exciting agenda today, fully packed with lots of different insights and trends in the remote services industry, as well as very practical use cases of AeriLink. And because every market is different, we also invited different speakers from different countries like France, Germany, respectively Austria and Hungary. And now, to not lose any more precious time, I will hand over to our first guest, Deborah Hawkins, who is director within the Document Office Technologies Group at Keypoint Intelligence. So, Deborah, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Alina, and good morning, everybody. Those of you that are not familiar with Keypoint Intelligence, that is the umbrella company that combines the two industry brands of Bias Lab and InfoTrends. Two of those span more than 60 years in the document industry, and we cover hardware, software, supplies and services, and we test and we research and we analyze. And I'm here today in my capacity as an independent industry expert. So if you've moved to the next slide, Zenek. So you might ask, what do I know about service? I'm not the typical service technician type. My view of the service world is actually to track and to measure the value of service. And service really is referred to as the bread and butter or the backbone of the document industry. Despite the fact that our entire industry has been negatively hit by the pandemic, and I'll talk a bit more on that later, we're still operating in a $15 billion market, of which approximately 20% comes from maintenance or break fix, as you can see here in this slide. Just in case you wonder, how do we measure this value? We capture and track on an annual basis the service value that is billed to the end user per page, by segment and by country, and we multiply that by the average page volumes which we receive from actual machine data. And apart from the actual value of service, the connection between that bread and the butter has always been intertwined. Devices can't be installed without service. Devices can't be maintained without service. In recent years, however, what we refer to as the stickiness has become so much more relevant, as the technician is often the component that locks in and integrates the document within the end customer's workflow, as well as often having the most frequent interaction with the end user. Move on to the next slide, Zach. In October of 2020, Konica Minolta was awarded the BLI Pacesetter Award in Serviceability and Support. This is a tremendous achievement, particularly considering this is the second time in a row that Konica Minolta achieved this award, and this is only the second time that this award has been given, so you're achieving 100%. The vendor evaluation process in this case covered 7 different areas. We looked at the company vision, we looked at adjustments for the pandemic, in-field support, environmental aspects, service tools, training, and device design. And as you can see here, this is some of the particular criteria that really stood out for us and really led us to choose Konica Minolta as the winner. One of the really important roles in my job is to look at external factors and market trends that are affecting our industry and how vendors respond to that. And the first of those is, of course, digital acceleration. This is happening all around us and has been hastened by the current pandemic. The role of the printing device is changing. Instead of being a mere in or output device, it's become a workflow assistant that is cloud-based and built around a workplace-based services model. The industry has to move to fulfill all customer document needs in hundreds of different and often disparate processes. Advanced technology is taking service to the next level of predictive and preventative maintenance. Costs and efficiency are leading criteria. Secondly, the pandemic and the resulting shift to work from home has opened many an eye to potential new and acceptable working forms. The longer this pandemic stays with us, the more and more knowledge workers are planning to continue to work from home. And not only general office workers, this hits many vertical industries who employ knowledge workers. For example, it's highly likely that some form of remote education will be taken up as a default in the future. This requires very good planning and provision by all service organizations to ensure that documents keep flowing seamlessly across office, hybrid, and home workspaces. The result is, of course, the long-term underutilization of office-located devices, and to ensure an acceptable level of profitability, these need to cost less per page and achieve more very quickly. The third external factor is sustainability. This is one that really pulls us from the inside out and from the outside in. Our actions affect the planet in many ways, and the service role is currently experiencing many great examples of how we can be more sustainable long term. And you're going to see some examples of this from the next speakers. Remote first is a component of the shift left strategy, as well as the AreaLink solution, are both great steps forward, and Konica Minolta is one of the leaders in this field. It hits all of those buttons that I just spoke about: digital acceleration, new working from home forms, sustainability, as well as it provides you at Konica Minolta and you in service with differentiation. In being disruptive, you at KM can change the face of service and shape the new business model.
Thank you very much, Deborah. So we are now handing over to Zdeněk Bubka, who is the program manager at Konica Minolta Business Innovation Center Europe.
Thank you very much, Alina. Hello, everyone. So let me briefly describe what remote visual support actually is all about. The key function is that it allows you to see what your customer sees. So in a situation where customer is reporting an issue, as you can see on the first picture, typically making a phone contact with the service technician, the remote visual support tools allow you to create an audio, video, visual session between the customer and the service technician remotely. So the remote technician can see instantly what is happening on the customer side. To do so, the technician sends an SMS invitation, typically to customer smartphone, and without installing any application or registering on customer side, the remote technician can use the camera and microphone on customer smartphone to see what is happening on customer side. So through that, the remote technician can immediately understand what the issue exactly is, and he can come on site prepared to fix the issue during the first visit. And even in some cases, as visualized on the picture 4, the remote technician can remotely visually guide the customer in some aspects, in some cases, even to fix issue remotely. So this is a very simple but very powerful tool, mainly because of its easiness to use and also of the benefits. Talking about benefits, in comparison to traditional on-site visit, remote visual support is typically 10 times faster and 50 times cheaper. Here you can see one of the specific examples that was shared with us by one of our colleagues, Kevin Archer from Konica Minolta, England. And in this particular case, Kevin was able to solve remotely an issue that would typically require on-site visit with 3 hours drive to customer side and then 3 hours back. So I believe you can imagine that this remote resolution and avoiding the visit actually saved a lot of cost for Konica Minolta. It increased the customer satisfaction because the issue was solved faster, and also it improved the well-being and biosecurity of our service technician and also the customer. Because of these benefits, Konica Minolta is now implementing widely the remote visual support within our remote by default approach. And I'm really happy that today the other speakers will share with you how they use AeroLink and what is their experience.
Thank you very much, Zdenek. So up next is Gerald Pomper, who is the Head of Service and Support at Konica Minolta, Germany and Austria. You are on mute, Gerald.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm happy to tell you today something about how we use and how we implemented AeroLink in Germany and in Austria. So the beginning was, or let me start with a few insights about the German and the Austrian organization. So just for 1 minute, we have around about 33,000 customers and 260,000 systems as an installed base in Germany, 630 employees just in the service and support department are performing around about 260,000 service orders a year. We have 3 regions, 20 service offices, and we have also indirect business where we have more than 270 partners out there in the field. So this is a short overview for Germany. On the next slide, you can see a short overview for Austria. We have 7 offices, around about 350 employees in total. From these 350, we have 180 roughly in service organization. We have about 50,000 customers and about 57,000 systems. So this is just a short overview. And now I want to step into the AeroLink topic. So on a very high level view, we have our strategy as definitely a data-driven smart services company. And we have there the most important points. We have the customer platform, remote service desk, we have premium on-site service, predictive maintenance, as we heard from the previous speakers as well, cloud fleet management, virtual training, and so on. And AeroLink will be part of a lot of those topics, especially currently in the remote help desk and in the premium on-site service. There, AeroLink is one part of our tool set and one part of our remote by default strategy. On the next slide, you see that the topics which we started to implement AeroLink and also to use AeroLink. So we started off with a massive training effort, but training not only in the technical area, so how to use it, because it's very simple to use AeroLink, but the training was also meant to be on the mindset. So why to use it, in which case to use it, how to use it, and what's the benefits, what the benefit for us, what is the benefit for the customer. We started off to get used to it with an internal use. So technician with experts, experts with experts, new technicians in the field needs to get help and so on. So this was the first step where we said we want to gain experience before we put it into place to use it on the customer side directly with the customer. Then we started off slowly to use it also together with kind of friendly customers, where we started off with pilots. And we had in January 21, we have, like every year, we are performing the physical inventory. In Germany, it's mandatory that two people are counting together the stock of the customer, of the technician's car. So due to the pandemic, we wanted to avoid to bring the people together. So we had a negotiation with KPMG if it's allowed to do this also remotely, so that the technician is not within, but at his car, and the second guy is in the office or in the home office, and they're connected via AeroLink. So we get them the permission to do that in that way. And so we get a real boost, because more than 400 technicians have to use AeroLink to do the physical inventory. So we saved a lot of time, and it was for us important to get used to it. Of course, there were at the one or the other end technical issue, because the car with the technician with the car was not in an area where the telecom connection was very good and so on. But in most of the cases, we could work with it. And last but not least, in parallel, also we started off customer support. So for us, AeroLink is now one part of our tool set in our help desk. This is the standard and mandatory, but we have also selected customers in the professional printing area, where we have customers where they get a tablet from us, so that they don't have to use their private phones or their company phones. So they get a Konica Minolta branded tablet, and they get a training for AeroLink, and we can help them solve issues very quickly. So and especially here you see the big advantage for both areas. So you see for the customers in that industry, it's very important to have a very high uptime of the machines and of the systems, because if they cannot print, they are losing simply money, because they cannot sell the printouts. So they are highly interested in a very quick resolution of problems. So they are open to use tools like AeroLink, and for us it's of course a big advantage, as Zdenek said, that we are able to save time and to increase efficiency. Therefore, on the next slide, I have a short a picture where you see the development. So you have the peak in June and July, because we did a lot of trainings, and therefore we have had a lot of test sessions on there. But in total, since February last year, the curve is increasing. It's still fluctuating, but in total it's increasing. A short summary on the last slide shows you the experience and key learnings. The right mindset is key, and we saw that in one area where we had the trainings, not in the first row but in the second row, there were misunderstandings. They didn't know how to use it, they didn't know why to use it, and so on. And we saw there that mindset training is very important. We had technical challenges. We have technical challenges. You have always things like that if you're implementing new tools, but we also see that they are decreasing with the experience. And quite obvious is, of course, the better the acceptance is, the better is efficiency increase and also customer satisfaction. As I also already said, physical inventory was a real stress test. And in the industry of production and professional printing and industrial printing, the customers are really open to use it. And in our service desk and in our remote by default strategy, AeroLink is one important part and one part of our service toolkit. So that was a short overview of how we implemented AeroLink and how we use it. and I'm happy to answer questions afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gerald. Very interesting insights. I'm handing now over to Angel Sixto Gomez, who is Manager of Technical Support Team in France.
Thank you, Alina. Good morning, everybody. The goal of my today's presentation is to show you how and whom is using Airlink within Konica Minolta France and for what purpose. There will be no figures presented here, just experience feedback regarding this powerful tool. I hope that this will help you to figure out how to implement the use of Airlink in your own companies. Let's start. Well, who is using Airlink in Konica Minolta France and what are the different type of applications? Currently, there are mainly 4 different teams working daily with Airlink. The first one is a dedicated team in our call center, what we call a remote assistance team. The goal of this team is to resolve in the very first level queries submitted by phone by our clients. The next team is the Office Product Service Desk. Or Office product clients contact directly this team when they expect their request to be resolved remotely. And the third team is the Industrial and Production Printing Service Desk team. The members of this team are experts in this domain, and the machine operators of our clients directly contact them when they need help on both handling and repair of their equipment. The first 3 teams are all dedicated to direct client support. The last one, the technical support team, which is in charge of providing support to our field technicians, is a team of experts in technical area. Let me explain in the next slide the goals of these teams and how we are using Airlink in their daily work. As explained before, there are 3 dedicated teams to the direct support of our clients. The main objectives of these 3 teams are to provide immediate support to our clients, to allow our clients to restart quickly their printing activity, to increase the device uptime, and to avoid site visits, thereby reducing, of course, the device downtime. And when these teams cannot resolve the issue remotely, they are requested to forward the incident to the field technician and provide him with all collected information during the remote session. This information is important as it must help the field technician to resolve the issue on the first visit and once again to increase the equipment uptime. We will first have a look on how Airlink is used by our call center and the Office Product Service Desk. Let's see on the next slide. Yeah, thank you. Well, paper jam are sometimes not easy to find out or to remove from the MFP. Airlink is very effective in addressing this type of issues. With Airlink, we can easily help also the user to replace a consumable when they are not comfortable with this activity or when they don't know how to do it. When they are facing issues such as print quality or paper convenience, with Airlink, we can guide them on how to clean the affected parts. Airlink helps also to show the MFP users how to execute unknown or complex functions. It is also helpful to ask the user to check the wires, the connections of some functionalities such as the network or fax connections. And last but not least, when the case cannot be resolved remotely, the agent can collect all the needed information and add Airlink snapshots in order to forward them to the field technician, thus helping, of course, the field technician to correctly repair the machine and at the first time. Let's see now in the next slide how it is used by Industrial Printing and Production Printing Service Desk. This team receives direct calls from machine operators of our clients. These users have a high level of expertise of their equipment. Their expectations is then, with regard to remote support, very much higher than those of Office product users. And in that case, the user needs a high level of expertise. The use of Airlink is then key For Konica Minolta agents also, as you can imagine, it is impossible due to the big size of these devices to provide our agents with all the configuration of our customers. Then with AirLink, they have directly access to the complete client configuration, and they can see all the parts of the equipment without the need to have it close to them. When the operator faces a print quality issue, he can show with AirLink the phenomenon on the printed paper, and it is easy to guide him on the adjustment or on the measures that he will have to carry out. When the machine is down, AirLink helps our agent to diagnose and guide the operator on how to replace the defective parts. In fact, these operators most of the time are trained on how to replace parts and how to intervene on the MFPs. Consumable replacements is often quite complex in this type of devices. Then AirLink helps to decide which unit to be replaced and guide the operator in this process. And of course, same as for the other products, AirLink can help to provide valuable information to the field technicians when the remote session failed, when we cannot resolve the issue remotely. Let's see now how the technical support uses AirLink. The objective of the technical support team are, of course, partly the same as those of the other teams, but the immediate one is to help the field technicians on complex issues. For him, to allow the client to be able to restart as soon as possible his printing activity, and help him in all his tasks when he has some difficulties. AirLink helps the specialist to guide the field technician on the assembly or disassembly of complex parts. He can also check that the wires are all connected correctly in electrical units or boards. AirLink also facilitates the evaluation of the state of wear of some parts. When a part is wear, we can, it's not sometimes not easy to see if it is wear or not. And then by seeing that, the expert on the support team can explain the technician how to do. The results of the adjustments and the applied values to adjust the machine can be shown through AirLink and confirmed by the specialist. AirLink can even help in some cases to help the resolution of print quality issues. This is quite difficult sometimes, but in some occasions we can in fact provide solution for print quality also. There are, of course, many ways of using AirLinks, and for sure there are many others. And this is why AirLink is now indispensable in our toolbox. Let me show you the experience and key learnings. We actually started using AirLink in June last year, and the use of this tool has increased with the pandemic. The customer is supported as follows. We get first to correctly understand the type of issue. If the issue is known, in most cases, we don't have to use AirLink. AirLink is in fact not needed for many types of assistances. For example, for known issues, solving the issue via AirLink can take longer than a simple phone call, which should create a bottleneck at our call centers. On the other hand, using AirLink is much faster and cheaper in comparison to on-site visits. So if needed, we know that AirLink is at our fingertips and that we can use this secret weapon at any time. Regarding the client acceptance, we have learned that not all users are willing to give us access to their mobile phone and to share their camera. For that reason, the way AirLink is presented is very important. We are working on that to be sure that the user has to be confident and be able to give his agreement with no fear. And the fact is that once we are able to use AirLink, most of the users are actually impressed at what we can do with it. We even already had a customer asking us for the use of AirLink again for a remote assistance. So that means that AirLink is now start to be known, and we expect that this will happen more and more in the future. Thank you all for your attention.
Thanks a lot, Angel. So up next are our colleagues from Hungary, Laszlo Silasnev and Andrew Georgiou, both part of the service and remote solutions team.
Thank you very much, Alina. Hello for everyone. So I'd like to shed light on a bit remote service from management and organizational aspect, and therefore I'd like to show you some slide and I'd like to share some thought in connection with this. Thank you. So the next slide shows that from the management point of view, what we should take into the consideration in connection with the customer engineer if we want to keep the customer satisfaction up. Of course, we have many factors and elements we can daily basis investigate, like the customer engineer productivity, if they can fix the system in the first time, if what they fix, how much time it's operating, if any spare parts needed to be replaced, how frequently is it, and the spare parts replacement was in time. I mean, does it live up to the expectation? And no, I want to focus on the visit avoidance, and which has been already mentioned. It is very important from both point of view, from the service management point of view, because with this remote as default approach, we can make our organization more efficient. From the other way, from the customer aspect, we can serve them faster, and the satisfaction can be increased by using the different tools available. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to show you what is a typical remote service process, especially in printing industry. So if you just take a simple escalation process, we can see if there is a customer reporting some issue or some request to us. Of course, there is a central customer dispatch who is responsible for receiving these requests, and on the escalation channel we have a field activities. When we take the activities of central customer dispatch, of course they can have some responsibility to fix the problems and to make assistance to the customer remotely, but sometimes the question comes up if they're skilled enough to serve and to provide the answer for every system what we have been installed, taking into consideration that the wider range of the system we have been installed, it needs more and more skills and training for the people who are sitting in central customer dispatch. So the skilled enough, it's a very valid question. The other question can come up if they motivated enough, because they have a regular job what they are doing, so they have to receive the calls, they have to receive the emails, and they have to receive the requests from different channels. But the question, what is the focus on their motivation? Which brings the next question, if they have capacity enough to do the efficient first line support for the customer. If we turn right, and the field who are in charge of to fix the systems on site, they can provide first line support, saying that they have to face physically. I mean, they have personal relationship with the customer, and of course, this trustful relationship which has been built up, they have to want it on a high level. Therefore, of course, they do first line support. So in the typical remote process, we have two different channels who can provide first line support. One of them is central customer dispatch. The second is the field. But the question, if it is the best way to do the remote solutions to the customer, and on the upcoming slide, I will show you the comparison between them. When I'm talking about centralized approach, it is the central customer dispatch, and that decentralized approach is the field. It is decentralized because when we are talking about field, it means a geographically different location, so it cannot be centralized. If we take the different point of view based on we are measuring the two different approach, one of the administration. I can certainly say the centralized approach can be really utilized based on unified based on a structured system. Meanwhile, in a decentralized approach, it's quite easier to mislead. To be honest, the guys who are working on the field, they are focusing on the technical solutions and they are focusing on the SLAs. And honestly speaking, the administration is not the strongest part of them. And I think many times we cannot expect too much administration from the field experts. When we take the knowledge base, again, it's much easier to build a knowledge base, regardless which kind of knowledge we are talking about. It can be a technical knowledge, it can be a process knowledge, it can be a motivation knowledge, but very important is that it's much easier to build up a knowledge base in a centralized way. Meanwhile, if we keep the remote services on the field, it can be gappy. It can be individual based because it's really up to the engineers who is working on a specific customers and really up to their motivation. Therefore, I would say it's much better if we can build the knowledge base centrally. If we investigate the motivation part, I think it's easy. Sorry. Yeah, it's much easier to understand why it is better to keep the remote services centralized, okay? Because in the field, they have to focus on many elements. So this motivation can be more flexible. Meanwhile, if they motivate the centralized remote service experts, it can be really focused. About the customer perception, the customer will receive always the same service from a service desk. Meanwhile, if the first line support, the remote service is done from the field, the customers receive always different approach. They receive always different service. I can imagine from the practice, the technicians can call the customers from the call or even from a different customer and other customers, which can be a little bit confusing. So from the customer perspective, I think it's easy to understand why the centralized approach is better and preferable. Field preparation, it has been already mentioned from Angel. The field preparation is certain, deliberate. The field technicians are much more prepared for the on-site visit. Therefore, it cannot compare the centralized and the decentralized field preparation with each other. Remote technology uses, thank you. The centralized approach, I mean the help desk, can use many different tools belonging to remote services. Meanwhile, when we are talking about the field service can almost use phone to fix the customer problem. So they have only limited possibility to fix the problem remotely. Thank you. Therefore, from the organizational aspect, I think the preferable if we have a remote solution team in between the central customer dispatch and the field. So the process from the customer's aspect would be perfectly the same. So they would deliver the request to the central customer dispatch, but they will escalate according to the request. They can escalate to a remote solution team, and they can be responsible for the first line support using the different tools, using a different motivation, using a different knowledge base. And if really needed to go to the field, they can prepare the field engineers better because they have a very high knowledge. The very high knowledge can come from the field. So when I'm talking about remote solution team, it can be settled up from the field itself. So it's very important if the customer can receive a very high level technical advice coming from centrally. It can be perfectly the same, which has been coming from the field, but the guys are more focused and are able to use more tools for the remote services. a task split in my imagination. The task split between or among the central customer dispatch and the remote services and the field service would be the next. The central customer dispatch can be in charge of the triage, the customer assistance, consumable controls, which is very important in the printing business, of course. And they have a coordination task with the back office colleagues, because many times they have to keep in touch with logistic, controlling, credit. So they have many tasks to do with the back office. And the new function is the remote service, and the remote service has the bigger task in this chain because they have to deal with the remote services, which can be an assistance, which can be mechanical issues, which can be quality issues, which can be a trouble code, which can be network settings. So regardless which kind of technical and assistance issue is coming to remote service desk, they have to fix it. And I turn back to the field service task. The field service should be responsible for only several things which can be done physically. The first is the hardware deployment. So it can mean if we have to make the machines, the system enable to fix remotely. Sometimes we have to visit the system to make them enable for remote services. And of course, there will be some replacement of spare parts, which cannot be required from the customer to do so. So there are some spare parts which requires an engineer presence. So this is the second thing why the field service should go to the customer. And the third is, of course, when a customer asks us to go there and to consult with them and to make some advice and to make an observation. So this is the third thing why the field service should go to the customer. But out of these three activity, all of the things should be done remotely by a remote service team. Thank you. Previous slide. Thank you. No, there is a short, not a short list. It is a list of the tools available for the remote service team. I can certainly say that these more than 10 tools can give a comprehensive solution for the desk in order to be able to fix the problems or give the assistance to the customer remotely, regardless which kind of issues and request is coming. And of course, we highlighted the AirLink. This is visual support. What is the unique solution? And this solution brought a new possibility to somehow enhance the remote services. So I can encourage everyone, not from the printing business, to use AirLink because it brought some success for us, and my colleague has been already talked about, and we'll talk later on. Thank you very much. In case of any question, I'm at your disposal.
Thanks a lot, Laszlo. Next one is Andre.
Thank you, Alina. Firstly, let me introduce our remote solution team in Hungary. So our team at Konica Minolta has a responsibility to solve incidents and calls remotely many they can. The team is created of technical support team members and some field experts. In the next slide, I would like to share a quick overview about AirLink usage in Hungary. We consider that in remote services, AirLink is the most important tool. It is easy to use and no application needed. We are focusing on remote working, fixing issues remotely, and help customers faster. We are concentrating and working to win our customer cooperation to use AirLink, because without this we cannot increase our remote working. Month by month, we growed up the usage of the AirLink. In diagram is shown per month how many calls were resolved on-site, illustrated with yellow, and how many calls were resolved remotely. This is illustrated with orange. At top of every column, the number with red is showing how many Airlink sessions we had per month. In average, we have 41 active sessions per month. With help of Airlink, we had increased our visit avoidance month by month. This is illustrated with green line in the chart. In the next slide, I want to show a report from last month, which indicates what percentage we can provide a remote solution for our customers. In 40%, we are solving remotely incidents and calls without going on site. These incidents and calls categories are paper jams, device settings adjustments, device operator trainings, or scanning and printing issues. The quality issues are illustrated separately because we want to have an overview about how many printing quality calls we can solve remotely. Incidents categories marked with an asterisk are solved with usage of Airlink in Hungary. The message of this report is that the Airlink has a very important role in remote services in Hungary. Without the tool, we could not achieve this result. In my last slide, I have some feedbacks from our customers who use the Airlink. Our goal is to have customers satisfied, and we are happy to have their issues quickly resolved with Airlink. Thank you very much for your attention and listening.
Thanks a lot, Andrei. So I guess now you're very excited to learn how you can get started with Airlink. So handing over to Zdenek again.
Thank you, Alina. So in case that you would like to try and start to use Airlink, the best way is actually to go to the link that is provided here and that will be provided to you in the follow-up email and create your account. Airlink is a cloud service, so for starting, you just create the account and you are good to have, for example, a test session from your laptop to your smartphone. There is no approval process, nothing like that, so you can really have your first session in 5 minutes. In terms of the availability and pricing in the long term, it's important to mention Airlink is a Konica Minolta solution, and currently it's an open beta. It's available for all users free of charge. And once the production version will be released, which is expected in March 2021, there will be 2 plans available. One, basic, will be free of charge, and it will allow you to have the regular Airlink sessions with no usability restrictions. And then the advanced professional will add extra additional features on top of the basic, for example, recording of the session or desktop sharing features. As of today, still Airlink is an open beta, but we have almost 3,000 users using Airlink, and these users generated more than 2,000 sessions. And in last year, 2020, we registered and documented almost 4,000 visits saved thanks to Airlink, which also led to the reduction of CO2 emissions. So in case that you like the approach, the remote visual support, we warmly welcome you to join our family and try Airlink.
Thanks a lot, Zdenek. So now we have little more than 10 minutes for our Q&A session. And we have already received some very interesting questions. I will start with the ones that have received the most likes. So there's one from Patrick to Zdenek. From a security point of view, how to reassure the customer who would be suspicious of taking the remote control of his smartphone?
Yeah, this may be a concern, and the technologies that we use do not allow the remote technician in any way to, for example, access photos on the customer's smartphone or any data. The session runs within the closed web browser session. And to to inform the customer and to educate him, we, for our Konica Minolta purposes, have created a educational leaflet. And in case you will start using AeroLink, you will receive this leaflet, and you are free to use it. If you are a company outside Konica Minolta Group, you can also adjust it into your branding. So this is one of the ways how we are informing the end users and customers that AeroLink is completely secure and they can run it on their company phone or private phone without any privacy or security risk.
Thank you, Zdeněk. Next one is also for you. How can this be used by smaller KM partners who are currently not using KM tools and do not get direct training in KM tools? Are they instead relying on tools such as TeamViewer or simple phone communication?
I mean, I would encourage you to register into AeroLink, try the session. As mentioned, there is no restriction, no limitation. Anyone can join AeroLink. And if you like it after the trial, you can decide for those two plans, either basic or professional, if you like to.
All right, thank you. Next one is for Gerald. Nowadays, what is the ratio in % of support jobs done using AeroLink versus on-site visits in Germany?
Yeah. Okay. So AeroLink is one part of the tool set. What we have a remote panel tool set where we can control the remote panel on site. We have a complete remote service platform where we can do also up to firmware updates. We have a Konica remote support tool, which has the same or similar functionality like the TeamViewer. So we have a bunch of tools. What we're using, AeroLink is one of the tools. In total, we are between 30 and 40% of visit avoidance, where we can avoid an on-site visit. This depends on the region, but we are slightly in average we are at 33-34% of all the visits we can do remotely.
Okay, thanks a lot. There's one for Laszlo. When does your response time start? When customer first calls or after the help desk support helps?
Thank you for the specific question. It should start at the same time. So it can be independent which kind of internal processes we have. So the calculation starts at the same time. No change from the customer call.
Okay, thanks a lot. Another one for Gerald. Do your field technicians work with AeroLink and a combination with remote care or only with AeroLink?
So I guess you mean the customer service remote care system from Konica Minolta. I'm not sure, but AeroLink is mainly used by the help desk. It's also used by the field technicians, but as Laszlo also explained in his presentation, it's very much used in the remote service desk to solve the problem or to prepare the on-site visit, or both. And and as I said, also answering the prior question, we are using more than AeroLink to work remotely. I hope this answered the question.
Mm-hmm. Thanks a lot. Then we have another one. Has somebody discussions with the customer that we use more and more tools to avoid visits? We involve the employees of the customers to fix the problems. Some technicians told us that office customers are not happy of this. Do you have experience or arguments to the customer discussions? That's a question for basically all of you.
I can grab the word if you don't mind. Of course, it cannot be everyone who is cooperating with us. Yes, it is true. It is true. But if we start to work with AeroLink, we have many positive feedback, and we can see the perception of the customer, which is promising. Yes. Not every customer will be cooperating, because from the practice, I can imagine that the customer will say that we pay for something But of course, if they are cooperating, we can fix the system earlier, faster. I think we can argue with these customers too. What if we try, and what if the system will be running up earlier? Of course, there is an argumentation part. It is a very important part of the service desk function. It is what I'm talking about, knowledge base. So the argumentation has to be shared with each other as a good practice.
All right, thanks a lot. There's one last question now to Gerald. Was all of the process of inventory, including the scan of SPART's functionality, done by Germany and Austria via AeroLink, or just the assistance?
It was done in Austria, and it was mainly the part of the assistant.
Okay, thanks a lot. I think we have answered all the questions now. If there's no more questions, we have 5 minutes left and time for me to say thank you very much to all the speakers. Thank you very much to the participants. You will receive the webinar recording as well as the link to the free trial via a follow-up email. I hope you have enjoyed the session and wish you a great rest of the day. Thanks a lot. Take care and stay healthy.